Greetings, I'm Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you're doing well today. Quick trigger warning announcement. The subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. And then a disclaimer, all cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. All right, so I'm going to be looking at the Dando case, and thank you to one of my viewers. And thank you to one of the viewers who suggested the show. And I'll just say the rabbit hole goes quite far and deep on this case. Just to give you context, when I first started looking at it, and there is the bigger slide, and I'll give you a quick glimpse. There it is. It's coming. And then we'll look at Joel and the fiance as well. But initially, I just couldn't get it. And then I started doing a bit more research. So I decided, let's do full research and see where the rabbit hole goes. And I believe I have now found the answers that everyone has been asking, because this was quite a big case in the UK. Jill was known as, or colloquially known as, Princess Diana of TV. And she really does have a lovely energy. So I just want to start the episode having a look at Jill and her fiance Alan. Now, he was or is a gynecologist, and to be quite honest, I find it very difficult to see him as a gynecologist based on his date of birth. So that's I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be an alarm bell in any situation other than the work I've done on this case. So if you're a surgeon or a medical doctor, I would want to see fours. That's the first thing. Fours, very analytical, mathematical, facts, figures, research. How are we going to do this procedure? No fours whatsoever. Okay? Big problem. Now, we can appreciate that to become a doctor and in those fields takes a lot of studying, serious brain power, let's put it that way. And what I'm not seeing here with Alan either is the nines. He has the one little 9 there, which I don't think is significant enough in convincing me. If he had a 9 in the month that he's born, or there's an 18-9 or a 9 life path, then I'd say this guy has a higher propensity for learning. People that are highly intelligent will show, and I've just been pinged on, and I'm getting goosebumps. The case of Mishrak. The case of Mishrak, who was a university student who I believe was murdered because of her skin color, one, definitely, as well as these little clandestine little groups getting together. And with her date of birth, you'll see a lot of 9s, a lot of 4s, highly intelligent person. So when we get to Alan, the handler, 14-5 in the middle of the day. Now, I'm going to explain to you, 14-5 is the liar. What comes out of his mouth is a lie. Very deviant behavior, 14.5. Absolutely no emotions coming from that gentleman. So, I just had an impression, had I had a wife, or even a girlfriend for that matter, would I agree to let this doctor see her? And the immediate answer will, why would I send someone to a rapist or to a sexual deviant? The 15.6. Now, or actually, I also wanted to say something about the 14.5. Now, let's say, for example, let's try to be balanced. Now, the positive aspects of the 14.5 in a medical situation. Okay. Had Alan been a general doctor dealing with old man issues, let's say he deals with rectum issues, then I'd say he would be the perfect doctor to look at rectums. But because he's a gynecologist and that 14.5 is male issues. And the 15.6 is like the dirty old man, pervert. The 15.6 is a pervert. Now, are you going to go visit a gynecologist who's a pervert? Anyway, I could be wrong. But I have some interesting information as this case unfolded. Now, what I wanted to also bring to your attention mainly about this, it just struck me that the fiance doesn't match her at all. And then I started looking at his numbers and realized he ain't a gynecologist by any way, shape, or form. Handler. So the relationship between Jill and Alan, what is in common for them, or where do they match and what is in common? And I can tell you now, 19-10-1 only with these two. 19-10-1. This is a transactional relationship, which also then makes sense once we start getting into the story why this is significant. So here we have the most famous, at the time, TV presenter in the country, who is now hooked up with Alan. In fact, she was living with Alan at the time of her murder. And when she went back to her apartment on the morning of and I'm just checking here, morning of April the 26th, she was gunned down from behind and murdered in front of her door. Now, the reports are saying that she hardly goes there. It would be for admin stuff, mail, all that kind of nonsense. So technically, the only person that knew that she was going to the apartment at that particular time was Alan. And of course, the network that he was handling for. And I'll get there. So I just want to bring to your attention, when I looked at the two as a couple, 19-10-1 is the only match that they have together. And the 8, I beg your pardon. I see there's an 8. I'll highlight it in orange because there's already an orange. Now, not orange. Now, 8. So this is the thing. This is what I would say to people. Although this is a transactional relationship, it's based on a needs basis. The 8's, of course, very physical type relationship. Let's have fun. But in my opinion, I don't believe the relationship was based on love. I mean, of course, him being the sly pervert could have obviously gave her the impression that he's the caring man. Now, before we leave the slide and we go to the main one, I want to draw your attention to one thing here. You'll notice the 1910-1. 1910-1. I'm going to ask you to please keep that in mind when we go to the next slide. Both have the 1910-1. Now we go to the main slide here. All right, so we're going to go through this slowly. The first thing we're going to do, if you look on the right-hand side on the top, you'll see a 1 by MI6, and number 2, Yugoslavia, number 3, Alan the handler, and number 4, Barry the patsy. All 4 people, or 4, let's say all 4 elements, including Jill, have the 1910-1. Now, coincident or not, all connected in some way, shape, or form. However, if you take it from the MI6 point of view, the 1910-1 is not a good number. So, like I mentioned, when I start looking at the case, I originally had Jill and Barry only because Barry was originally convicted of the crime. And then I believe on a technicality, then was acquitted. Okay? Now, that to me, based on what I've picked up, smacks of a bit of a deal-making situation. Be the patsy, be the fall guy. You'll do a bit of time, and then the rest is over. Then you are the free man. But we need you to take the fall. Now, this is to say, I don't believe Barry the patsy was the hitman. I believe Barry was the patsy, and we will get there. I'll explain why I say he's the patsy. I will explain why. All right. So I'm going to start by the day before the event. So that would be April 25, 1999. The new millennium is approaching. That gives us the 4, 25-7 red flag, 28-10-1. Now, I just want to stay on the year that we're in, the 28-10-1. The 28-10-1 in the context of this case is big communications going on between organizations. And this is why I believe there was not just Barry the hitman, or Barry was the patsy. He wasn't even there. Okay, let's just say 28-10-1. A lot of communications between different organizations. Now, that's why I believe Barry did not work alone on this situation. I believe there was a group of people, a network, working for a cause. Now, I brought in Yugoslavia's founding date of birth because there was that big war going on, right? December 1, 1918 gives us the 12-3, gives us the 12-3, 1910-1. Coincidence or not. Then we find the 13-4, 14-5 outcome with a life path 5. Now you will note the day after the event, April 27, where the number 2 is, in the red block, we got the match 13, 4, 1, 14, 5, 5. The day before, April 25, we've got a direct match with the MR6, 11, 2 plus 1, 12, 3 with a 3 outcome. Two days after the event, April 28th, and I will speak about that, the top bar Nana, but I'm just drawing your attention to the block, big block, 14, 5 plus 1, 15, 6 with a 6, pings directly on the handler, Alan. So that when we get to April the 29th, pings directly on the handler. Pings directly on Barry. Now I'll tell you where Barry comes in. Because you will note, and we will go through all of this properly, we'll go deeper, but I'm giving you an overview first. How it pings on all of these people. All of these organizations. Jill was surrounded by vipers, scorpions, and I don't believe Jill realized it herself. The most we would say the second most influential woman in the country at the time. So in the world of cloak and dagger, smoke and mirrors, the numbers are not lying. Too much of a coincidence that the 1910 one, all transactional. Purpose. And I'll repeat it, I don't believe Joel knew what was happening. All right, now I'm going to explain to you why I believe Barry is the patsy, why Alan is the handler, and why this was in favor of Yugoslavia, and why the MI6 were controlling the situation. Now, if you look at it on a physical level, the way the chart is put out, we got the day before, we got MI6 on the scene. 25-7, it's a hit. And it's a go, go, go. 28-10-1. Now that would make sense from a, let's say from a chronological point of view. And this is what I was struggling with in the beginning. The energy of this time, 1999, it feels like a very weird energy, very different type energy. Very different type energy. And that was part of my struggle in cracking this case. So the day before, it makes sense that the MI6 are prepping, getting ready. They are in the frame, full frame. They are preparing for what is coming. The morning of April the 26th, Jill leaves Alan to go do some work. I believe they were signing a contract, or she had to go sign a new employment contract. And again, I will say, Alan, unless she told someone else, but think about it, she was living with Alan. She leaves that morning to go to her apartment, and the minute she steps on her apartment's doorstep, she is murdered. And she doesn't sleep there, she never sleeps there. Coincidence or not. That's why I believe Alan is the handler. The Grand Puppet Master, I don't believe, is ultimately revealed here, but certainly MI6 running the strings, as it were. Now, April 27, so there's definitely a Yugoslav connection with this case. Now, of course, just based on this preliminary information that I have here, and I was kept on saying it's impossible to record it in one day. But I think the overview is going to give us a lot of good information. I'm going to go deeper on the days, but there's definitely a Yugoslavia connection on April 27. 13-4, death. 14-5. 14-5 also pings on Mr. Allen. Of course it would, right? 14-5, I think I've explained 14-5 enough. Now, what also concerns me is that we note the 14-5 at the end of April 27. There's lies being told about this situation. So, I mean, in the real, if I watch some documentary, and there is a series on Netflix, which I actually watched quite a while ago, actually. To have this random, I mean, Barry was no saint, let's be fair. He's got a long charge sheet, aggravated assault, sexual assaults. He's not exactly Mr. Spring Clean. But his modus operandi is very different to what actually happened to Joel, in my opinion. I'm no criminologist. But if you look at the charges on his sheets, it's all pretty much aggravated assault on women. Serious crimes. But it was not the same what happened to Joel. Joel was shot and that's it, finished. Had it been Barry, in my opinion, he would have forced her into the apartment. One. And not just shoot her outside, because then that's not his MO. So when Barry came up as the fall guy, I mean, on April the 30th, he matches completely. Right? But this is where the problem is. He happens outside the, let's call it the periphery of the event. It's like an afterthought. It's like a plan later. He's not in the center of this crime. I don't believe. And believe me, I was gunning to see him there, but I don't believe it was him. The only slight hint is the 15-6. Now, hear me out. The 15-6 on April 29, that's a significant position, 15-6. That's the day is the 15-6 plus 1. Whereas Barry, with his 15-6, it's the morning. It's like night to sunrise. It's a completely different position. Not significant enough for me. I mean, it pings the 15-6 on that 29 April pings more on Alan. So Barry was the patsy. The April 28, now I want to explain that bar on the top there. Number 3 matches with number 3, pings directly on Alan. I had to do it this way, otherwise it's going to be too complicated. The bar on the top there, the 4 plus 28, 10, 1 plus 28, 10, 1, chatter. Referred to as chatter. 4 plus 28, 10, 1 plus 28, 10, 1, chatter. chatter amongst organizations. That's why I say this web is bigger than what's on this slide, I believe. I mean, that's not bad. You got MI6, there's Yugoslavia at war, we got the handler in play, but of course there's other, there's puppet masters that play in the background as well. And what I was trying to allude to earlier, to research what Jill was doing, let's say a year or 6 months up to the day of her murder. I mean, so I'm looking at the hits, the misses, and who was at play here. And there's definitely four organizations or groups in play here, and including Jill becomes 5. So what was this all about? So I'm not going to go deep into, I've just explained I can't go into all her history, but where I've got that blue arrow on April the 26th, 11:32 is supposedly when she was shot, right? That's a valid point, actually. I've just thinking out loud here. So if April the 27th, and I'm going to tell you why I'm a little bit, something's not right here. April 27, I mentioned the 14.5. What we know about the situation is a lie. Now, if I go to April 26, 1999, we have a 26.8 at the start of the day. So what I'm trying to get to is if she was shot, I'm not seeing any 6s around there, which normally tells me gunshot. The April 27 also tells me, and we discussed this in the previous video with Gareth. Was it Gareth? Yeah, it was Gareth. I'm just trying to remember the surname. Gareth Williams. Staging, MI6, MI5. Spooks. So what's bothering me here, I'm not seeing any gunshots. Now, if I recall, the evening of the April 25th, there was a party or there was some kind of dinner party at Alan's house or something to that effect. And that can be shown as the 33, bit of a celebration. With the outcome 12-3-3. So 26.8, technically there is a 6 there. But if it's such a dramatic as it's portrayed as, which it is, any gunshot is dramatic. So the next day, 27.9 is the hit, definitely the hit. 31.4, and when I was drawing out these numbers, we spoke about it as well with Gareth. 31.4 is the decomposition of a body. So could she have been murdered from, let's say, midnight of April the 25th to 6 p.m. or 10 a.m. April the 26th. Killed somewhere else and dropped at the front of her door. I don't know. I guess there's eyewitnesses that see her walking there, but the issue, what I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing sixes on that day. And that 26-8, apart from staging, so if we go 26-8, can also be an argument, a heated argument between two people. And that 26-8 is midnight to sunrise. 26-8 can be two people having an argument. So I'm actually going to highlight that 26-8 in orange. There's an argument going on here. You know, when I watched the documentary, I thought I hadn't watched the documentary when I was doing the research, so I went to Netflix now to watch it, and then I saw that I had watched it. But what stood out for me when I started recording the documentary, the handler did disturb me, just gave me the bad vibe. So 26-8 is the first number of the day. 4, we've got a lot of male energy on the ground. Male energy. I'm just checking Mr. Allen's date of birth here quickly. He doesn't have any 3s, okay. So 26-8 can be the argument for male energy. Does something go wrong between midnight and sunrise? Because, I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to invent a story, but I'm trying to figure out, how did she die? How and when? Okay. So if we accept the story that she was shot in front of her door, so she would have been discovered shortly after 11:32. I believe it was 10 or so minutes or whatever it was when she was found. So we have the 13-4, a death. 27-9 the next day, it was a hit. We have a 13-4 match with Yugoslavia. We have a 14-5 direct match with Yugoslavia and Allen. There's chatter going on about the situation. Now we can argue when the news broke, obviously Jill was famous. But this is big chatter. And the April 28th pings directly on Alan, the handler. Now, coincidence or not, this is very suspicious in my mind. Of course, there's foul play, but I think the rabbit hole goes a lot deeper. And I believe Jill had no idea what she had gotten herself into or in the center of. So in my mind, for me, Alan, just based on his date of birth, I see problems there. So I believe there is a conspiracy around this murder of Jill, in that we have people playing in the backgrounds, who are manipulating people in the real. Let's just say that. All right, let me know what you think. I think that's going to be it for this one. Let me know what your thoughts are. I love engaging with your comments. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe and stay alert.